February is here, so the first release of Home Assistant in 2022 is here. So let's look at what's new in 2022.2. We'll start in a couple of seconds. But before we proceed with what's new in 2021.2 release of Home Assistant, let me first thank all those wonderful people that are supporting me on the YouTube channel and have become YouTube channel members. Thank you all for all of your support. And thanks to everybody who watched, liked or subscribed to my channel. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below. And now let's see what's new in 2022.2. First, a bit of disclaimer. This video has been recorded on the beta version of 2022.2 release of Home Assistant. To be precise, on beta 3 version. There still may be a lot of changes or no changes between now and the official release that will be in 2 or 3 days. Before we look at what's new, let me thank everybody who contributed, and there were more than 2.5 thousand merge contributions in this version of Home Assistant. So people were busy. Media browser is gone. Let's welcome the Media tab. The Media tab, what was previously Media browser, is now much nicer and also includes the media control at the bottom of the display. Also, there are some additional changes to it. For example, Sonos, VLC and Roku can now support playing local media. And Sonos can even browse supported media. For example, if you have Spotify and Sonos integration, you can now browse your Spotify media and play it on your Sonos devices. And Cast for Plex has been added to the media browser. Let me select a Cast device, clock me, turn it on if it's already not on, and let's select File to Play. If you would have playlists here, you would also have option to go back or skip the currently playing media. Diagnostics has also been added to the integration and devices. While you may not need this functionality, if there is any issue, it will be helpful. So how does it look? If we look at Elgato Lite, if I go here on device, I now have option to download diagnostics, and it would download the JSON file. That JSON file can then be uploaded if you are opening a ticket or issue on the GitHub repository, and will provide additional information about this integration or this device. So, while it may not be needed in everyday use, it will definitely be helpful for any troubleshooting you may need to do. And the list of supported devices, entities, or services here is very long, while still not complete, and the other devices or services or integrations will be added in the future. One of the things I was having issues with my unified device tracker is that there are a lot of devices added to the network. The problem is, for example, the iPhones. They change the MAC address, and that creates a new device each time it logs onto Wi-Fi network. While the initial contribution or the ticket started for the Unify integration, it now has been expanded to the other device trackers too. And to see how this could be an issue, let's go to the Unify integration. When you add your Unify integration to Home Assistant, it will add a lot of devices. Most of those devices here, except this one here, are device trackers and can be used to track devices on the network. But as I mentioned, for example, iPhone changes the MAC address constantly. Also, some Raspberry Pis do too. What this creates? This creates infinite number of the device trackers that you don't need to track, and it creates a lot of entities that you have to later on clean up. With this update, only known devices will be tracked. If you want to add additional devices, you can do so by hand, I think. There was overall improvement on the experience, and we'll go through a couple of them. For example, when integration has a single device or single service, you now don't need to double click to see what device has. If there are more than one devices, yes, you still need to select device, then quote that entity and see the details, but if there is only one, you can open it directly. For example, let's look at difference if I press on AccuWeather. It will show me all the sensor and the information about device. And if we go to WLED, we have to select device, and only then we do see details about that device. Checking for updates has also been improved. Previously, you had to wait to see if there is an update or not, but now you can just press on Check for updates. In the configuration screen, click on three dots and check for updates. If there are any new or additional updates, they will be of course shown up here. People sometimes have problems with the integrations, and now it's easier to see if that integration has any reported issue or not. Let's look for example Elgato. For this slide, if I would want to check if there is an issue open or not for Elgato integration, I would press on three dots and click on Known Issues. And this shows me if there are any open or closed issues for this integration. The other not functional but beneficial thing that was added was ability to see the documentation. For example, if I look at this Tado Internet Bridge HomeKit controller and press on documentation, it would open documentation in Home Assistant in regard to HomeKit controller. I believe that linking documentation will be beneficial both to experienced Home Assistant users but also to new ones too. Search has been added to the configuration dashboard, and you can search here through Home Assistant or select from the list here. Scenes have now state and the last activity timestamp. But as I'm not using scenes that much, especially not in my recording setup, I cannot show it here. And one great thing that was added is the zones that now have state. Previously, people would join zones. For example, they would leave or enter the home zone. And now zones have a counter or state that can show you how many people are in that zone. So for example, you can do triggers if there is nobody in the zone, somebody in the zone, or everybody in the zone, which is great for further automating and improving Home Assistant. For some more advanced things, you can now use shorthand templates in condition actions, such as this one where we are in condition checking if this tracker iPhone is away or not. The new immediate if or IIF has been added, and it allows you to further improve your automations or scripts. For example, if condition is either true, false, or none. Example here is the lights. Support for Python 3.8 has been dropped, but if you are using Home Assistant OS, container or supervised, you shouldn't worry about that. From other noteworthy changes, and there are a lot of them, I will just pick up a couple of them. For example, you can now enable local fulfillment for Google Assistant. Unique ID has been added to the statistics component. Input button support has been added to HomeKit, Amazon Assistant, and Google Assistant. There was a fix to WebOS TV media player, which is a LG TV, which I'm using. An option to select the quality of the stream in the Synology DSM integration has been added, which I will be probably using in the future. Missing voices have been added to the Amazon Poly. Reboot button has been added to the OnWave devices. That way you can use this button to reboot the camera that is attached through the OnWave integration. And one thing that I've been asked a couple of times on the Discord server or privately was the browsing of Spotify media players in Sonos. But do check the other noteworthy changes list because it's very long. This part here is related to the front end, and this is the added support for the long-term statistics in the following integrations. Also, there were changes to the following integrations and now they have entity categories. List of new integrations. Input button, which we have seen previously listed, diagnostics, but also some other supports are added in this new release of Home Assistant 2021.2. A list of integrations that now support setting up through UI has been extended. Android TV, CPU speed, DNS IP, GitHub, etc. While we will talk about the GitHub change a little bit down in the breaking changes. With a lot of changes come also a lot of breaking changes. And I will not go through each and every one of them, but I will just pick up a couple of that I think people should be aware of. And as always, my recommendation is to carefully go through whole list and see what has changed, even if you don't use some integrations at this time. For example, GPIO integration. GPIO integration allowed everybody who was running Home Assistant on a Raspberry Pi to directly pull the pins from the Raspberry Pi. And this is going away. The recommendation for developers is to go alternative routes, and some of the alternative or sister projects are ESP Home or MQTT.io. There was one breaking change that is not really breaking change but is improvement on future breaking changes. Fan, light, switch, remote, siren, vacuum, and humidifier had states on and off and also could have had state unavailable, but they were missing unknown state. Now all those entities now have on, off, unavailable, and unknown state. If you use them in automations, you have to amend this. iOS app has a change to notifications. If you're using old method of pushing categories to iOS, you now have to prepare and remove it in the future. Luftdaten, one of my favorite but very also old projects, and I will be posting a link here to that project, has had some changes too. Luftdaten is no more called Luftdaten, so there is a change and it's now called sensor.community. Also, this sensor.community can now be configured via UI, so if you have a YAML configuration, after it's imported, you can remove it. Since Broadlink can also be configured through UI, you can remove the YAML configuration. CO2 signal, same thing. Android TV, same thing. Nuki integration has been removed from YAML because you can now configure it through the UI. And by the way, if you are using Nuki and haven't seen the community HSCS component for it, go check it out. I think it's still much better. Group locks has been reversed, so that unlocked is now mapped to on and locked is mapped to off. If there is any device that is unlocked, it will be in the state on. Binary sensors now also have on, off, unavailable, or unknown state. Sensible can be configured through UI. SwitchBot 2. Version integration has also been migrated to the UI configuration. The legacy works with Nest API has been deprecated and will be removed in the version 2022.5. A lot of changes to the MQTT. LG WebOS Smart TV also has been migrated to the UI. Turn on action now has specific automation or service call. It's called webOS.turn_on. Synology DSM reboot and shutdown services are now deprecated and will be exchanged for the button entities. And GitHub. If you are using Home Assistant integration, there will be a lot of work. The YAML configuration has been removed. And no, there is no migration path, so you will have to re-edit through the UI. When you finish re-adding it, don't forget to check your sensor names. And for the end, as always, some integrations have left the Home Assistant ecospace, and this is Tahoma, Arduino, and EE Brightbox. What is your favorite change if you have a favorite one? For me, the improvement of WebOS, Synology, and of course the device trackers. And do you see possible issues with any breaking change for yourself? If you do, don't forget to drop me a line here, or even better on the Discord server. If you did find this video useful, please give me a like, because it not just means a lot to me, but it also helps with YouTube algorithms. If you still haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified on the future video updates and possibly this Saturday stream. And there will be something special on my next stream. I will be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.